What's going on, fight fans? It's your host Sebastian, and welcome back to the Boxing Tip. Now, this fight is coming up pretty quickly, so I think it's about that time where I drop my official pick for the winner of this fight, and that fight is between Jose Pedraza versus Gervonta Davis. Now, it's about 5:30 in the morning right now. Didn't get much sleep, but I've been spending most of the night watching both of these, watching film of both of these guys, as much as I possibly can get in before I make this video. And I know in my last video that I made about this fight, I kind of spent some time pointing out some things that both guys do well. I wanted to spend time on this video talking about a couple of things that either guy should kind of look out for in the fight. I think these might be the determining factors of who the winner of this fight will be, possibly. But come fight night, depending on what their game plans is, we might see a whole different version of either fighter. So everything I say in this video isn't technically going to be concrete until fight night. But I'll go ahead and jump into it, starting with Gervonta Davis. Now, a couple of things that I noticed about Gervonta Davis, aside from the fact that he's a very good boxer, very slick boxer, hard puncher, does do things exceptionally well in the ring, but he does have a few flaws in his game. One punch that I see Gervonta Davis get hit with pretty cleanly in some of his fights is the left uppercut from a orthodox stance. Now, Gervonta Davis is a southpaw. I think in his last 3 fights, not including his last fight, but in his previous 2 fights, before his last fight, I seen him get hit with a lead left uppercut from the orthodox position consistently. Now, Jose Pedraza is a very versatile puncher. Throws any punch from any different angle. He has a very good punch selection and stays very balanced in the midst of him throwing his combination. So Jose Pedraza is a very fluid puncher. The left hook from an orthodox stance is in his arsenal. We probably don't see it as often as he could be using it, but it definitely is in his arsenal. I think that's one punch Jose Pedraza should be looking to land against Gervonta Tank Davis, being that he is susceptible of a lead left hook or lead left uppercut from an orthodox position. Now, Jose Pedraza, he's also a bit of a switch hitter himself. He can fight from both stances, but I think to kind of give himself a little comfortability, he might choose to fight this fight primarily in the orthodox stance. I think the left uppercut is a punch that he should be looking out for. The second thing about Gervonta Davis that I noticed is he works really well off of his jab when he's pressing the attack. I also noticed that he gets into some rounds where he completely abandons his jab and he's looking to do like some pot shotting and mainly throw out some power punches. Now, that's a problem. Jose Pedraza has very good head movement. I think his defense, I might have underrated his defense a little bit. But going over and watching more film of him, I noticed that Pedraza actually does have a pretty good defense. And it's not just his head movements, it's also his feet. He does know how to use his feet to get away from punches, and he knows how to use his head to slip and counter, off of, being in on the defense. So if Gervonta Tank Davis is banking on pot shotting Jose Pedraza, I think that might end up working against him. I think it'll present Pedraza with a lot of opportunities to counter, mainly with that left uppercut like I brought up earlier. So I think, and being that Pedraza does like to kind of press the action, and he's a volume puncher when he wants to be, I think that will work against him if he abandons the jab. He's not going to have any punches to kind of keep Pedraza at bay, from getting off a lot of the volume punching. And Pedraza doesn't put everything into every punch he throws either. He probes for his openings and then he lets the power go. And that's a mark of a very intelligent boxer, and I think Pedraza is an intelligent boxer. So I think that's another thing Gervonta Davis is going to have to utilize in this fight. Is he has a good jab. It's a very snapping, very fast jab, very accurate jab when he does throw it. Even if he's not putting a lot of force on it, it's still something to keep Pedraza's hands at home, thinking. Counter him with the jab, throw the jab. If you're going to press the attack, lead with the jab, because pot shotting, it's effective, and it's effective when your opponent isn't really doing much and he's just standing there and he's being stationary. Pot shotting works very well. But when an opponent has very good head movement, is a little unpredictable in which way he approaches to press the attack, like Jose Pedraza does, pot shotting might work against him and then actually end up getting him countered if he's not careful about the way he does it. So if Gervonta Davis utilizes his jab more and more frequently and more effectively, I think he increases his chance of winning this fight. So unless Pedraza takes away Gervonta Davis's jab with good head movement and countering over the top or underneath it, then that could spell trouble for Gervonta Davis. He might have to abandon the jab at that point, and that's not going to be good. It'll give Pedraza a chance to capitalize on him not using the jab and being able to press the action on Gervonta Davis. Also, another thing about Gervonta Davis, and this is probably the last thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to him, is that I noticed that he has a tendency to keep his head kind of straight up. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't really tuck his head. He kind of leaves it straight up. That's probably why he gets caught with the left uppercut at times, or caught with some other good punches at times. But against a volume puncher, or not even a volume puncher, but a sharpshooter like Jose Pedraza, likes to probe for his offense, and then in between all the punches, some punches that he knows are gonna land for sure, he has that power behind. Not that he's like a devastating puncher or anything, but still, you get hit with enough of them, it eventually will start to hurt. So Gervonta Davis needs to protect his chin, not with his shoulders, because I know he likes to roll his shoulders and tuck his chin under, in his shoulder, use his shoulders and his hands to guard his chin, but he's gonna have to start being more defensively responsible than that. He's going to have to start tucking away his chin, keeping his head a little bit lower, tucked in towards his chest, and not keeping it in a straight up position, while he's standing there waiting for punches. And that, like waiting to punch, or when he's in the middle of an exchange, he still has the tendency to, even though he has good head movement, man, he's a slickster, he slips punches with the best of them, if you ask me. When he does, but leaving your head straight up, eventually, no matter how much head movement you have, the one time you don't move your head, that could be the one shot that puts you down, because your head's straight up, your chin is totally exposed. So, he's going to have to really watch out from that. Now, I'll go ahead and jump over to Jose Pedraza and some things that I feel like he needs to avoid when it comes to Gervonta Davis. Alright, the first thing with Pedraza that he'll have to avoid, it's not anything that he does bad per se, but he needs to avoid looping his shots too much. Gervonta Davis is a sharpshooter, very short-armed fighter, and very fast hand speed. He has incredible hand speed, and his punches are very short and crisp. And especially when he gets on the inside, he likes to sneak those short little punches in there. So if ever, and Jose Pedraza seems like the lengthier guy. I'm not exactly sure what the size matchup is. I don't like to compare the size too much, or use the size as a factor too much. It does play a role, believe me, but I'm not completely excluding it. But it depending on what you do in the ring, you adjust to certain fighters. So just because Pedraza has a reach advantage over Gervonta Davis doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like Nicholas Walters versus Lomachenko. Everybody was on that shit that Walters has like a serious reach over him, and he actually didn't really have that big of a reach. The wingspan measurements make it, you know what I'm saying, like arm to arm, fingertip to fingertip measurements. Those measurements, it does say you have a longer reach, but when it comes to reach per arm, it's not that serious. And also, I said that Walters has long arms, but he doesn't really got an outside game. Most of his work comes from the inside. Watch the Lomachenko fight, it proves it. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't get shit off from the outside, and anytime he tried to work on the inside, Lomachenko took away all his weapons. But not comparing this fight to that fight or anything. I'm just trying to, give you guys an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to size. I don't necessarily feel like size is the biggest factor. If the guy has the tools and he knows how to fight a lengthier fighter and he's the shorter guy, he knows that if he gets on the inside, his chances are drastically increased. And Gervonta Davis has the speed, the agility, and the slickness to get inside of Jose Pedraza. And not to mention, Jose Pedraza likes to fight on the inside as well, so that's why I don't really bring in the size factor. But like I was saying, Pedraza, being that he is the lengthier fighter, needs to be careful of how much he's looping his shots. I think he's going to really need to sharpen up his punches, make them a little bit more crisp, a little bit more speedy, have a little bit more speed on him, a little bit more snap on him. Definitely can't be trying to push his punches at Gervonta Davis. It has Gervonta Davis is a good counter puncher as well. He'll be looking to roll those pushing shots, those looping shots off of his shoulder with his head movement, that side-to-side rolling action, and, with throwing his own little short counters in the middle. That's what he does, kind of like Thabiso Manchuno versus Alexander Usyk, and I talked about Manchuno having a tight, Philly shell guard. Not saying that Gervonta Davis utilizes the Philly shell all the time. He does, utilize a high guard and uses his arms to block punches while he's rolling as well. But, he does rely on his shoulder at times as well. Well, Thabiso Manchuno does the same thing. It's kind of common in that Philly shell style guard. Roll punches and, throw your own little short shots using your rolling momentum to throw those short little counter punches in between. So Jose Pedraza needs to keep his punches crisp and sharp and fast, so he avoids being countered by Gervonta Davis. Another thing about Jose Pedraza and Gervonta Davis, Jose Pedraza cannot allow, if Gervonta Davis has a tendency to kind of get a little inactive in the ring and he likes to wait for his opponent to throw punches so he has counter punching opportunities, Jose Pedraza cannot allow Gervonta Davis to wait. He needs to constantly keep Gervonta Davis busy. And I'm not talking about with committed power punching, power punches. I'm talking with, smaller, not so powerful, but yet still effective punching to just kind of keep him busy, whether it's kind of pawing his jab or just throwing little, straights, little probing hooks, you know what I'm saying? And go to the body, you know what I'm saying? From the body to the head, just to kind of get something to open up or keep Gervonta Davis thinking for the time being, while Jose Pedraza can start finding the weak spots or the soft spots and capitalizing and focusing the real power on those punches. I think if he does that, that'll work really well into his favor, just as long as he remains defensively responsible, expecting Gervonta Davis to throw some counter shots back. Jose Pedraza has good head movement, and he uses good head movement while he throws his punches. He doesn't just stand there stationary, and he likes to, use his feet to kind of step around his opponent very subtly to create different angles to punch in. So he got to avoid letting Gervonta Davis have time to sit there and wait. He cannot let Gervonta Davis wait. He can't wait for Gervonta Davis waiting. You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess you would have to. I'd have to show you one of their fights, or one of Gervonta Davis's fights and Jose Pedraza's fights, and then kind of explain it to you from there. But basically, Gervonta Davis has a tendency to wait. He shouldn't do that either. But Jose Pedraza can't allow him to wait. You know what I'm saying? He needs to be keeping the younger, less experienced Gervonta Davis busy. Keep him thinking. but keep him thinking about what Pedraza's doing, not thinking about what he needs to be doing. So keep him distracted. That's a good tactic. I think if Jose Pedraza is successful in doing that, he has this fight in the bag, honestly. So, as you guys already can tell, that this is I know to the eye it might seem like Gervonta Davis will beat Jose Pedraza because Gervonta Davis is really flashy. He is very fast, very powerful, and he's a real slickster. He's not an easy target to hit, so I know that it seems like to the eye that Gervonta Davis may be the favorite to win this fight, but I'm not very convinced of that. Now from watching a little bit more and more of these guys, I'm sort of leaning towards I'm leaning towards Gervonta Davis to win. I think even though he is the less experienced and the younger, the more greener fighter of the two, or not greener, but just the less experienced than Jose Pedraza, even though that's the case, I still favor him to win the fight. I just, I see what you guys are seeing, the flashiness. I see the speed, and I see the attributes, his physical attributes. Not so much his skill, but his natural athleticism and his physical attributes, I think might pull him, in favor to win this fight, in my opinion. But Jose Pedraza, in my opinion, has honestly the more tools to utilize in the fight. That's why I didn't pick last time, and that's why I'm having a hard time picking now, even though I'm favoring Gervonta Davis to win. So that is my official pick. I am picking him to win by decision, possibly maybe a late stoppage, but it would not surprise me if for some reason Gervonta Davis gets overwhelmed in the fight by Jose Pedraza, and Pedraza ends up maybe not stopping him, but possibly outpointing him over the 12-round period. It would surprise me, to be honest. Jose Pedraza, man, he's no joke. I mean, he might not have the resumes of other top 130 pounders, but the guy is a very talented fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's actually, him and Felix Verdejo they're both from Puerto Rico, man. Puerto Rico's, I know they've always put out good fighters, but I like the type of fighters that have been coming out of Puerto Rico in the more recent years. You know what I'm saying? And man, they're talented. And Jose Pedraza, man, I like him a lot. I always thought he was a top-notch 130-pound fighter. He might be the less known out of the 130 pounds, other than maybe Jezreel Corrales, but it's just seeming more to me like Jose Pedraza has the more tools in this fight to utilize. Gervonta Davis, he has the way he fights, and I'm not too sure if he's able to really step out of that comfort zone. But for whatever reason, if Jose Pedraza overwhelms Gervonta Davis in the fight and beats him over a period of time, or over the course of 12 rounds, man, it would not shock me. You know what I'm saying? But I made this video to let you guys know who I'm finally picking, of course, but I just wanted to make aware that both of these guys have some flaws in their game. Or not so much that they have flaws in their game, but these are flaws that they need to avoid come fight night when they go up against each other. In my opinion, that's how I'm seeing it. So as long as they avoid everything that I've mentioned, I think that either guy can pull away with this fight. And I'll say it like this, and just to kind of give you a little bit more of a specific of how I see this fight playing out. If Gervonta Davis doesn't knock out Jose Pedraza within the first 3 rounds, he's going to have a tough fucking night ahead of him. If you ask me, he's going to have a very tough night ahead of him. Jose Pedraza isn't a slow starter, and I'm not saying that, but if he can't hurt or knock out Jose Pedraza early on, he's going to have a tough fight. Jose Pedraza is eventually going to figure something out. He's going to see, even if it's not so much, if it's enough to not knock him out, or even if it's not enough to knock him out, he'll find something that's going to be enough for him to win the fight. So, I know a lot of people, even on my comments of the other video I made about this fight, basically everybody on there was picking Gervonta Davis to win. Even myself, I'm picking Gervonta Davis to win. But to those guys and to anybody else who watches this video, do not be surprised if Jose Pedraza wins. If he wins, don't be surprised. I mean, don't be surprised if he doesn't win, but don't be surprised if he for some reason beats or for some reason overwhelms Gervonta Davis and beats him, because it's not out of the question, not even the least bit out of the question. Both guys are, this honestly could, in my opinion, I could see this as being a pick'em fight. If you get down to the science, or get down to the technical aspect of how both guys fight, you'll start to see things. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jose Pedraza can't utilize the things that he does to other fighters on a fighter like Gervonta Davis. Maybe Gervonta Davis can't pull off some of the same shit that he does on other fighters against Jose Pedraza. You never know until they get in the ring. But I guess in, just kind of looking at this, as a what if scenario, I guess you could say, or just, just how I see the two fighters stacking up against each other, to me, it's a pick'em fight. As of right now, it's a pick'em fight. But I am leaning towards Gervonta Davis to win, either by a late stoppage or a unanimous decision. I mean, I won't get it. I'll just say a decision. I don't really like to get too specific about it. But like I said, do not be surprised if for some reason Jose Pedraza overwhelms Gervonta Davis and ends up pulling out of this fight. But that's all I got for you guys on this video, man. Comment your thoughts. Let me know who you guys think is going to win. Let me know what you think each fighter needs to do in order to win. I like it when, people drop comments, giving their, little take, giving their breakdown of how they feel the fight, or what they feel a fighter needs to do in order to win, or, what a fighter needs to avoid from the other fighter. I do like that when you guys do that, man. It gives us something really, a lot to talk about. So I really do want to be interactive with anybody who comments on my videos. As of right now, I've been able to pretty much respond to every comment that has ever been on my video. So I do like talking about boxing, man. So my door is always open. Feel free to message me if you'd like, or feel free to drop a comment, man, and I will respond to you. So we could talk about it. And then subscribe to the channel, guys. Also share the video with your boxing homies. Make sure you introduce somebody to boxing. This is a great fight. I would love for a newcomer to know about these two guys and watch the fight. I think it'd be something they could be pretty excited about. But that's all I got for you guys on this one. I will talk to you on the next one. Peace.